I'm at Chetan's cozy little pad in Bandra and I'm loving it. Hi Chetan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Hrishi, for having me. I must tell you, my default and my favorite radio channel.
We're honored. Revolution 2020 is set in Varanasi. So are you like a small town boy? Did you grow up in one? Because the whole mechanics, the politics of small town India is dealt with really beautifully in the book.
Thank you so much. I am not from a small town. I'm from Delhi, but my father was in the army. So I've been all around the country. Plus, I'm a motivation speaker now. So I've been to around 75 cities in India to give talks. So I have a pretty good sense, and traveling so much means around 1/3 of my time or even half my time I'm in small towns. So I have a good sense of what's going on throughout the country, and that's why I attempted to do Revolution, because it's my 5th book that I tried a small town. Earlier on, all the books are Delhi, Chennai, things like that.
In fact, all of your books is about a guy meets girl, one guy, one girl. But Revolution 2020 in that aspect was revolutionary for Chetan Bhagat because, it's a love triangle.
Yes.
When you write a current book, is there always that thing in the back of your mind about your last book? Because if you see, there was a lot of conflict in Three Mistakes, and then suddenly two states became lighter, and then there were two protagonists, and then it became a love triangle. So how does that weigh down on you?
Yeah, it's funny, Hrishi, you caught on to it, because it's the first time I've been asked this question, and that's absolutely correct. In fact, Two States was the book I had written after Three Mistakes. It's a very heavy book on Godhra and things like that. So I wanted to genuinely do a light, fluffy book. So Two States was that. Once I did a light, fluffy book, I felt now it's time to do something more intense. I also felt that Two States had become too nice a love story. And in real life, love is not so nice that you just have fall in love and the biggest problem is convincing your parents. I think these days relationships have become flattened really. It's not really a boy meets girl and there is no competition or there's no threats to the relationship. I think people always are thinking in terms of backup in their love lives. So that is what I wanted to bring in through this triangle. It's not just a triangle in which two guys love a girl and they don't tell her. Both tell her that they are interested, and the girl kind of is playing both of them, and that I thought is a more realistic love story than Two States, which is frankly a bit of a dream sequence.
Chetan Bhagat in conversation with me, Hrishi K, 94.3 Radio 1, upgrade to international radio. It's World Book Day, time to take a song. So what can we play for you, and what's your favorite?
I have so many requests, but like a Rolling in the Deep maybe we'll play.
Chetan Bhagat in conversation with us. It's World Book Day, and this is a lovely, cute little den of his. You become a columnist. Now, when I read the Times of India, I really like what I read, but a lot of skepticism crept in, saying, novelist trying to write column, the so-called intelligentsia. I even saw one television program in which Tavleen Singh really took off on you, and I thought you handled it with great dignity. So, this Dainik Bhaskar writing, the writing in Times of India, does it require a different mindset?
Yes, and again, this is not a question I expected from a RJ. This is a more deeper question, and there is a lot of cynicism in our country. Anybody who tries to do anything good today is assumed what is his angle in this, and I genuinely wanted people, the youngsters are reading me and they are not reading editorial pages. So I thought using my name, I can make them read editorial pages. The idea was to simplify the problems in the country, figure out something, solutions, So all my columns are solution oriented, which often gets a lot of criticism. People say that he's oversimplifying, or what does he think? Who does he think? How dare he suggest a solution? But that's not the point. I'm not saying it's my opinion. It's an opinion page. And I think that creates certain value. And yes, it's a very different mindset. When I'm thinking of love and relationships, when I'm thinking about people's emotions. For example, the column that came on Saturday was on Air India's mess and how the Babus basically use Air India as their party airline, as their vacation airline. And they keep bailing it out, saying that we are saving but it cannot be saved. So just because they get their upgrades to business class, they want to eat their palak paneer, so they're giving it 30,000 crores. So I think these kind of columns are obviously very rational, not emotional. And the aim is to create some, normally celebrities do not comment on national issues. They stick to their work. Normally, and as a writer, it's my job to do that. So I think there is some value in that when somebody makes statements which are for the betterment of the country. So that's the intention there.
It's very scary leaving a full-time job. I'm thinking a man like you who had a stable, steady job, when you took the plunge into writing, how difficult was it? How did you motivate yourself?
It was one of the hardest decisions of my life. It took 2 years, not just to convince myself, but my wife, my in-laws, my family, everybody, because it was a big risk. In a bank, you are growing. I had reached the executive director level, so there was only one more promotion left to be managing director. To leave that and to say that I'm going to write books for young people now, which is where young people have very fickle mind. They move from MySpace to Facebook to Twitter. They'll keep jumping. They're not loyal as such. So how is it going to work? I had no idea what I'm doing really, but it's like really, like you said, taking a plunge. But since I did that, of course, initially there was a void. But today I'm doing books, I'm doing my columns started after I left my job. A lot more movies based work I'm doing. And of course, motivational speaking that has come about. So today, I mean, you've come to my little den office, you can call it, and you can see my calendar. It's really packed. And I'm in some ways busier than how I was at the bank.
For all the listeners, it looks like a war room, like, Churchill would be in World War with a lot of diagrams and numbers.
So just this month till date, this was very heavy motivational talks month. So it started with Mumbai on the 1st, then Siliguri on 2nd, Delhi, Allahabad, Dubai, Udaipur, Cochin, and then various other queries still running in Bangalore, Jodhpur, Goa, things like that. So it has been quite a journey, and all this wasn't there when I was in the bank.
In conversation with Chetan Bhagat, my name is Hrishi, 94.3 Radio 1, upgrade to international. Temporary literary menopause is something that all writers talk about. You sit in front of a computer or a piece of paper and suddenly nothing comes out. Do you shut down, go, come back after some time, or you just wrap up for the day? How do you tackle that?
Yeah, initially, this thing called the writer's block, it is true. It does come, and it used to worry me a lot before. Now, what I have is other things to do, like columns and my family and other assignments. So I get myself busy with that. I've already done 5 books, so there's no marks for coming first. So if it's not coming, I see it as a sign that it's not worth writing. If something is worth writing, it'll come to me. And if it's not coming to me, just because I'm a writer doesn't mean I'm a machine who has to keep producing at regular intervals. I'll write when I feel something's worth writing and sharing with the world.
There's a lot of stuff of your motivational speaking that's gone viral on the net. When did that first spark happen that I can do this, I can get on stage and influence a whole generation, or make them think?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the word spark, because there was a speech called Sparks that I did in 2006. So in 2006, one Miss Vidya Mazumdar who runs Symbiosis called me to Pune to give a talk to the new BBA program, and I did this speech which just did it in less than a day. I mean, I was nervous, so I wrote it down. Normally I speak now without writing down full speeches, but I had written it down and I was reading it out, and because I had written it, I put it on my blog, and from there it really went viral. I think it's really a speech about how you can keep the spark alive in you, how you can stay motivated, and for some reason it still circulates even till today. And from there a lot of invites started happening, and corporates started calling me, and I turned professional. And it was a new field in India. Motivational speaking is a relatively new field. There are a few people, but very few compared to the West. And I think in the last 2 years, me and a few others have dramatically, like almost every corporate now has a motivation speaker in their conferences. And I found it's a huge power to heal people. I mean, people need motivation. You see lakhs of people going to a sadhu or baba. Ultimately, they are looking for motivation. But a lot of people who are professionals are not really looking at a religious alternative. They're just looking at a practical advice. And I think that is where I've tried to come in. And I get a chance to meet my readers all over the country.
Let's go into song. One more from your choice.
I Am Your Man, Leonard Cohen. So it's a very intense voice for those who have never heard. You've probably not heard a voice like this. And the lyrics are amazing. I don't know. This song was given to me by someone special. And I don't know. I really liked it.
Cohen the Poet with Chetan Bhagat the writer on 94.3 Radio 1. My name is Hrishi. Yoga. I read somewhere book writing and book release process is very exhausting, quote unquote, Chetan Bhagat. I hope I'm able to go back to yoga after one of your earlier books. Have you gone back to it?
I go back, then I lose it again. I go back, I lose it again. The best yoga years were between my first and second books. 5 Point Someone and One Night, when I had sudden fame. And to cope with it, I had to be in yoga. And in fact, if you remember One Night at a Call Center, it was a story about a call from God. So it was a very spiritual period of my life where the only story I could think of was about a God calling a call center. I must say I've not been as good. The profile I have has grown, the work commitments have grown, and that's what I'm doing right now. In fact, after Revolution, the idea is not to start another book until I have that spiritual grounding again. And I don't have it right now.
3 Mistakes of My Life with Gattu with Abhishek Kapoor. That's still on. Are you still writing with Pubali Chaudhary? I mean, how does it work?
That has gone into shoot last week. So we are shooting it. We are not revealing much. So Gattu just sent me a gift on my birthday, which was yesterday, and it's on Twitter. It's the first look of the movie, which even I had not seen. They are shooting in Ahmedabad as we speak. And it's 45 degrees there. But the entire team is super psyched, and They keep cursing me that why you wrote a story which is such a hot place. Why don't you write a story set in Switzerland? But I think it will be a brilliant movie and made by a very talented director. And I think it will bring out what happened in Gujarat properly. And we have support from the Gujarat government. The CM Narendra Modi himself has helped us get locations. People told us you will not be able to screen this movie in Gujarat. But we met him. We said we don't want to make a movie on Gujarat and not shoot it in Gujarat and cheat it in Bombay or something. So he gave us the locations and he's going to be part of the, helping us. I'm hoping something good will happen out of this movie.
There's so much talk of two states being largely autobiographical. I'm also from a mixed marriage, except that, I'm Tamil and my wife is North Indian. Now, if I were to go tom-tomming about the mixed marriage and intricacies of my parents and her parents, I would have a lot to answer for at home. Post two states releasing, how did the relationship with your wife change? Did she take it nicely? Was she joking around or did she get intense about certain things?
I think it changed pre-release when the fact that I told her I'm writing this book and she was super nervous. But I did make her read it. Normally she does not read my books until they release because, I feel she'll be biased. But two states I made her read and she even deleted a few portions, more intimate portions. Some of the scenes I wish I could put, she has deleted them. I think her parents initially was quite surprised that at the free-flowing jibes on them. But they also eventually realized it's giving them a lot of fame and popularity because anywhere they go, people ask, are you the two states in-laws? And, they see that the book was appreciated. So it's okay now. But yeah, even till today, my wife gets requests on Facebook saying, are you the Ananya of two states? Can you please be my Facebook friend? That has not stopped.
With so many large number of prints going out, every book is a huge pressure situation. I'm not going to ask you the cliched question about what pressure you feel. I'm just saying, what is the book testing formula that you follow or your publishers follow? Do you get a large number of people to read it pre-release, get feedback? Do you change based on that feedback? Because so many prints are going out and so many lives depend on that book?
It's come to a point where people, when they know it's a Chetan Bhagat book, they're very scared to give a feedback because they're like, who am I to say whether it's good or not? So I have a few people who are very rude and blunt and who will tell me as it is. So I do make them read that. But it's not a lot. It's still a little cottage industry kind of thing. We have 7-8 people read it. But I try to get a cross section. So for the Varanasi book, I got a girl who's been a Bandra girl all her life, gone to posh schools, has no idea about the kind of issues in that book. But I made her read it. If she connected with the book, then, I do make some changes, but, frankly, you can't make a lot because you've already written the book. But, there were signs like, okay, so the girl Aarti was coming across as too mean or selfish. So I tried to tone that down a bit. So I remember that feedback I changed. But largely, you can't change much. There is just because there's a big print run, you cannot be assured that the book is going to work. I mean, you just have to go by your gut feel. If the story works for me, then so far it has been that if it has worked for me, it has worked for people.
In Chetan Bhagat's workspace in Bandra, having a ball, 94.3 Radio 1. My name is Hrishi K. When you were a kid growing up, did you want to become a writer? Were you good at writing essays and poetry?
I didn't write poetry, but I was good at humor. I was good at writing skits, plays. I have done a lot of that in college. More entertainer than writer, I would say. It just somehow has happened that I'm become more known for books. But even today, I enjoy the movie aspect. Or like I said, when I do a motivation speak, it's more humor than people often say it's more stand-up than motivation, really. So I think that is definitely been there.
So what did you want to be when you were a kid?
I wanted to be a chef. I still wouldn't mind opening a restaurant, maybe a 2-states restaurant with the 2 different cuisines. It's something I was there. My parents were not very much in favor. At that time, boys didn't cook.
I got the feeling you were a reluctant customer initially when you got into filmdom,
Yeah.
How have you adapted to it? Do you get along with the filmies? Was it a big cultural transition or was it easy?
Interesting relationship with me and Bollywood. In some ways, I'm extremely lucky because I've seen people try for decades, literally, to get that one break in Bollywood and they don't get it. For me, it's been a sideways entry. It's like, I've had all the books that have been taken up for movie making. 2 have come out also. 1 is in production. The other 2 hopefully will happen also. It's been relatively easy for me. But at the same time, it's not been the easiest because, there were issues, there was controversies, there were things like that which I've had to adjust to. I was initially a little bit lured by Bollywood too much. And today I'm far more rational and calm in my approach towards the film industry.
You spent 11 years in Hong Kong, so those must have been fun years of your life.
Not only that, I got to see a very developed place, and I got to see China develop. And I think a lot of my ideas that come in my columns about the kind of India I want to see come from that space.
Your top books of all time from other authors.
One is this Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov is considered one of the best books. Great Gatsby by Fitzgerald. And right now I'm reading this book by this gentleman called Desmond Morris. He's written a book called The Naked Woman, The Naked Man, The Naked Ape. He looks at people from the point of view of zoology. So he says man is nothing but an ape with a very big brain. And it's very interesting book. And someone quite good friend who reads a lot recommended. I'm really into these books right now.
Just one more song choice before we go into the last leg of the interview.
So Westlife, Flying Without Wings.
In conversation with Chetan Bhagat, it's World Book Day, remember, and this is one interesting chat. Now, another big focus on World Book Day is copyright laws and, things like that. I know, for example, in the film industry, it's very complicated. Javed Saab is fighting for it. He feels that the royalty system is not working properly. Do you still get paid per copy sold, or is it like a lump sum just for the information of our listeners?
It's a royalty. You get based on the number of books you sell. Of course, the issues remain. The publisher only tells you how many books you've sold. For someone like me, it's easy because I have certain clout, so I can obviously check and enforce and demand a certain price. But for new writers, it is something they have to be a little cautious and work with reputed people. I think in general, we are culturally comfortable with intellectual property violations, and that's not good for the country. Not just in the arts, in science, in everything. We feel it's okay to copy. We feel it's okay to pirate. And we think I got to see it for free, I'm so clever, I've done jugaad, I've done something smart, I've saved money. But what you're doing is you're harming the creative industry. So as a society, we really have to respect intellectual property, not just in our arts, in every field, and have good laws. We cannot progress. We cannot become a nation that innovates and creates unless there are good intellectual property laws. And a place like America takes these laws very seriously because they know innovation and creativity are the hotbed of creating wealth. So that's something I'm very concerned about broadly. I'm not aware of the full details, but I found, like for example, you go to any Signal, you'll find pirated books. It's not good for the industry. It's really hurting because when publishers have capital, then they give new writers a chance. But this is money that belongs to the publishers, which is being taken away, stolen literally. So that's something I want people, listeners who are, just buy the original. It's so easy today. You can buy it over your phone online.
Is the future of book reading safe on World Book Day?
I wouldn't say it's very safe, to be honest. I think things are changing very fast. Reading is not going to go away. People are still going to want to read. People are still going to want to know good thoughts. Whether those thoughts are in motivational form or a knowledge form or creative form. Thoughts have a place. Good thoughts another mind wants to hear. The format of those thoughts may change. Maybe a War and Peace type book has fewer takers today than they did at one time. Maybe smaller books are needed. Maybe, mobile content is needed. I don't know. At the same time, like you said, the connectivity of technology is also going to bring in more readers. Today, I have, say, like 800,000 people on Twitter and 2 million people on Facebook that I can reach immediately, which was unthinkable 10 years ago. So yes, people are reading less books, but I am reaching more people. So the balance is quite good. And it doesn't really matter if they read the book on paper or on a screen. I mean, that's just, at one time, paper was also like a screen. So a new technology. So that's okay. But I think as long as people realize the importance of reading, they should not feel that TV or video games is a substitute for reading. You always say a well-read person. You never say a well-TV watched person, because reading builds your imagination. Reading builds your personality.
Thank you so much, Chetan Bhagat, for hanging with us on 94.3 Radio 1.
Thank you. And thank you for coming all the way. And I promise next time I'll come to the studio. And once again, this is my favorite radio channel.